Gents, I'll just do a quick intro again because I wasn't recording before we just sent the boys into the breakout room, but I wanted to quickly touch on High Performance Habits. It's the book that we're reading this month, and if you haven't got it, definitely get it. It's one of the top books I've ever read that's helped me improve my quality of life, which is brilliant. And then we've just sent the boys to talk about what week they're up to in their game plan. Right, whether I'm up to week 9, how it's going, what's working well for you, what you need to improve on, and then discuss the questions. One of the things we will be talking about today is how to, when life starts getting in the way of things, how to refocus and prioritize things and take action towards, spend your time where it's going to have the most positive impact on your outcome. So when the boys get back from the call, from the breakout rooms, that's what we'll be discussing. I love your bookshelf, George.
Yeah. The middle shelf is all the books that we've done so far on this.
Oh, perfect. Let's fill it up, mate.
I know. I have to have my own shelf, mate, but the missus, she goes mad because all hers are colour coordinated too, and mine are just on the shelf.
I should really be considerate of that and be a bit more colour coordinated with the books, shouldn't I? How did everyone go then? Did anyone not get to finish chatting?
Yeah, we didn't finish, but we had a good chat. So
who missed out?
I guess we just never really finished the last question.
That's all good. That was a discussion one anyway. With that, does anyone want to share anything just quickly on the leadership, why you feel teams or individuals succeed faster or sustain that success?
Lockie, with our group, we were talking about being flexible in if you're working with a team like I work with 8, I'm in charge of 8 blokes. We worked out that being inclusive, cohesive, knocking problems on the butt straight away, culture, and being flexible when you don't know how someone's feeling one day when they come to work compared to another day. So being flexible in how you approach situations and creating a cohesive team, that's really important in future success, we think.
Yeah, awesome. Anyone else?
Yeah, we kind of got talking about, I let off and said it felt like a bit of a trick question because an individual or a team, I don't think there's any real individuals out there that truly succeed standalone on their own without a team. So the focus of our conversation from all 3 of us was that it's all team related, and building a strong team around you is the key to that success. And to maintain a strong team, sometimes you've got to cut some loose if they're not adding value. You've got to add new people in. I'll add to that. Don't be afraid to add people to your team that are otherwise smarter than you or more advanced than you. It's all around the team. That success. So
I reckon he nailed it. Sean and Ian. I think Adam, were you about to say something?
Yeah, I'll just say for me, like in my line of work, I did a lot, or haven't done for a while now because of COVID, but volunteering at Australian Superbikes with Team Kawasaki for further knowledge of mine to gain, from top ranked Australian Superbike team. So I did it. I've done a lot of hours with them for nothing, in my own time just to get more knowledge, to get further in my field. So for me, it's just, yeah, doing that bit extra and not expecting anything for it. Just
Yeah.
like free
Well,
education, basically, you know what I mean? So, and
Yeah.
they're all for it. So that got me further.
I think that's a great point. Like a lot of us, when we invest time, we want to be rewarded financially. You know, most people do for their time, rather than understanding that we are actually gaining value through skill, which might end up in the long run helping you make more money if that's what the focus is, or whatever it is. Like the compound effect of that knowledge. It's that you know, you can feed a man a fish and he'll eat once or whatever it is, and you can teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a lifetime. It's the same with, you know, you see these people, and we'll use money because that's what we're just talking about. But, you know, millionaires or billionaires who might go bankrupt or lose everything, and then they're, you know, back with millions or billions a few years later, because when you have the knowledge and the understanding and the experience, it's easy to replicate it. But if you just get, you know, why a lotto winner never really maintains their wealth, or, you know, statistically, because they haven't learned the lessons. They're not the kind of person who should have X amount of money. And it's not saying they don't deserve it. It's just they haven't put in the work to learn that. And as Sean and Ian were saying, like, I'm 100% in agreement where there's no, you can only achieve so much success as an individual. And I think we all play our own part with how we show up in a team, but we need, you know, even having this environment, which you guys are all on this call right now, as a part of your team, essentially, to help you check in with where you're at, hold you to a higher standards, have the conversations that maybe you're not having in other areas of your life. That's what I would consider a team, right? It might be for those who have staff, for those, even your partners, for those who are in relationships, you're a team, and you couldn't do a lot of the stuff that you can do without it. But then it's what we need to focus on, I think, is how, you know, your team can only go as far as the weakest link. Right? So if you're looking at rugby and you've got someone who is skipping training session, or any sport, skipping training sessions, trying to push through an injury, they're lowering the standards of the team. It's like what real leadership would be them putting their hand up and saying, look, I'm not at 100%. Let's put Johnny in instead of me. Or, you know, if they're cutting corners, it's calling them out and saying, Johnny, you fucking been missing sessions Tuesday, Wednesday. We're all putting it in. Like, we want to be the best. And that's where, when you think about your lives, guys, and what success looks like for you, and it's all you know, everyone's got their own definition of what success means to you. You need to start thinking about what team you need around you in order to achieve that. Like, it is so important. If you want to be highly successful, highly focused, have great relationships, but you're hanging around dead shits who drink piss and smoke bongs all day, I hate to break the news to, and I'm, you know, each to their own, but I'm just saying, like, if I used to do that, so if I kept doing that, I wouldn't have achieved what I've achieved now, right? So you need to really look at your environment. Who's on that team? Who's educating? Who's supporting you? Who do you have to lean on when shit gets hard? Because it happens. And Cambo, I hope I'm not teaching your daughter, Lainey, any bad language.
No, mate, I think she'll learn it from her mother, not you. So, hey, Lockie, but on that, I think one of the I've studied it, I've been part of it, I follow it. Is if you look at the Melbourne Storm and you talk about successful teams or organisations, some of the things they do, right? They don't go after superstars. Yeah, they have a couple, but they usually found them, develop them themselves. They're a team that knows exactly what their job is. Like Craig Bellamy gives every single individual. Now, for some of them, and they're comfortable with their thing. There's no one going, well, I deserve to be paid this because I'm this position. I deserve to be paid that, or Cameron Munster's on this. But the other thing Craig Bellamy does there is he accepts the individual. So he's one of the strictest coaches in the world, but yet he deals with Cameron Munster. Yet he deals with Brandon Smith because he understands you need them as part of their team. I think they're a prime example of they find rough diamonds, bring them in. He focuses on a person and a team and a culture first. And you just see that team blossom and grow. Like you look at the players they've lost or turned over in the last 10 years, but yet still they're about to win the next minor premiership. And they literally don't have the best side on paper. But it's all they're in on one goal. They accept individuals and they know their exact role and they're comfortable doing it. They don't need Justin Olam's comfortable being that center that does that stuff. They don't need to be a superstar. Where you hear of some of these other teams like Parramatta or things like that, that they're arguing about bedrooms or they're arguing about who gets paid what. you don't hear about that from Melbourne.
Yep.
It just doesn't happen.
And that's where those setting those standards and understanding your roles. So see you, Justin. Well, before you head off, mate, we'll get a quick screenshot. Oh, he's gone. Done. We'll get a quick screenshot before anyone else needs to bail. Smile, boys. It's my favorite part of the day, that. But no, exactly right. And as Cambo touched on before we head over to Tommy's question, it's don't just fall for the first thing. So even when you're looking at, for example, a lot of us want acceptance, we want belonging, we feel like we want to fit in. And from a young age, we just go where that sort of happens naturally. And that's why a lot of people still hang around the same people that they grew up with, even if they're not necessarily, not saying they're shit people, but they're not the right people for you to be around to get to where you want to get to. We have to shed layers, and we have to be able to move on to new people, not because you're better or anything like that. You just want different things, right? And you always can leverage the compound effect of other people's experiences, which is what we do here, right? Rather than you having to go through a lot of the stuff, you can learn from people who've already done it, right? Which can maybe prepare you for some stuff that's coming with it. Maybe you can understand what it feels like emotionally to be able to do that. But ultimately, it's going to come back to the habits and the discipline that you have, which is why this book is so good for this, for what we were talking about around leadership and leadership for your own life, right? And for those who've started the book, the first chapter is on personal habits, right? Which, as sort of tying into what Ian and Sean were saying, and even Adam, is that our own personal habits will make us more valuable to the team. And the more valuable we are to the team, the more valuable the team is, the better the team does. Right. So as I mentioned, if you're skipping training, if you've got lazy habits, and that's going to be the ultimately the standard and the level of the team. As Cambo said, with Parramatta and Melbourne, completely different standards. For me, when I work with Ray White, I work with one in the city here who's Australia's best, Ray White, and then I've done work with another one down south, and I can see huge differences that are minor, but they lead to huge outcomes in earning potential and just the way they treat people that show up. So we need to start thinking about what habits we have on a personal standard that are going to enable you to thrive in business and thrive in relationships, thrive in your life. And we need to start working out what that is, right? And once again, this is, so.
Just me, Lockie. I'm heading off, mate.
No worries, mate. Great to see you, and we'll see you soon.
Have a good one, gents.
See you, mate.
Around what those habits are. And obviously everyone's definition of success or what you're striving towards is different. So you need to work out what those habits need to be and who those people are. So, for example, for me, when I wanted to learn to build a business and just understand myself emotionally better, I sought out a coach. And what I learned from that first experience was I just went to the first person I saw. Right, the first person that said psychologist, the first person, not that said, but was a psychologist, and the first business coach I went to, and they weren't the best fit for me. But because I wasn't aware of that at the time, I just said, that's what I need. I'm going to do that. And I think the important thing for all of us moving forward, and this may shoot me in the foot as well, but it's, if you don't vibe with me and the Man That Can project, it's not saying doing this sort of stuff doesn't work for you. It's just finding the right people that you resonate with, right? That sort of speak to the same language. And that's why for me, I'm the same. I won't work with anyone that I wouldn't have a beer with, because it becomes too painful. I also know my coach is a mentor. Like for me, when I'm choosing a mentor, for example, I want them to have a very similar lifestyle to me. My last coach, which I blew a ton of money on, couldn't understand why I did certain things, because he didn't have a relationship, nor did he want to. He was happy working fucking 70 hours a week and work being the only thing. Whereas for me, I wasn't prepared to do that. So I learned a few lessons in that. Same with my mates. I'm very, I hang around a lot of blokes who love, Jez and I just went for a sauna. It was a storage sauna, a sauna and a steam and stuff like that. And a lot of you guys on here who I catch up with, anyway, I consider mates, because I would have a beer with you. I go work out with you. We have saunas. We're all into reading and just being better blokes. And that's what I've chosen to build my environment around, my team. But I also know that I have to show up and bring value to you guys as well. Otherwise, it's like just a take situation. So within that first, where'd I put it? The first chapter, it's like seeking clarity, and this is probably going to help Tommy with the question that we'll touch on in a minute, but seeking clarity around what's important to you and what actually has to happen in order to achieve that outcome. In seeking clarity, you also got to be mindful of what distractions can pop up for you, because they pop up. Life throws stuff at us every single day. Dave's about to find out with a kid on the way. And
Yeah,
Shauno's got 4. So like you need to really have clarity around what you're really looking to get out of things at the moment and what that looks like, because you will have priorities right at the moment, Dave. And I'll use you as an example, Dave, and this mightn't be your situation, but this is just a little bit of role play. But obviously with the promotion and everything, like that's a priority for you at the moment. You're about to have a kid, and then there might be this fight between shit, which, you know, I've got this role, I have to show up as this place because I might lose my job, whatever, you know, these various things. But you're also like, fuck, I want to be a present dad as well. And that's where this internal battle is going to come with managing time and what else can I declutter from my life in order to achieve that. And I think Tommy, much to your question, and I'll read Tommy's question out, which I did at the start, but like, how do we know what the light at the end of the tunnel is, which affects you with competing priorities? I think, from my opinion, and we can discuss this if anyone wants to throw their perspective and opinion in. For me, like, I'm just not clear on a certain priority. If I've got things that are competing, I'm losing focus and I'm not being disciplined. So for me, I would also look at, you know, what's the short-term sacrifice for the long-term gain? Because as I've spoken about, actually I did a podcast on it yesterday, I believe we can have everything in the long run. Like you can nail all those 8 areas and have the dream life, but in the short term, you have to sacrifice some stuff. Like, you know, if you're, you know, Sean's run a bloody mine, so there's a lot of sacrifices that go into doing that, right? Time away from family, time away from health, mates, various other things, because you got to put your heart and soul into your business. So in the short term, that's where you're going, but you know, in the long term, it might provide you with more financial freedom, time freedom, in order to look after those things. Does that make sense? Plus, you've also created the compound effect and the efficiency. You've learned systems and processes. You've got staff potentially, and think about this in other areas. You know, if we're talking about health, you may get to your dream weight or whatever, but you've also learned what diet works well for you, how much sleep, what foods feel good for you. Does that make sense? So you can become more efficient in achieving and maintaining those outcomes, right? But at the start, it's like a complete clusterfuck because you have no idea what's, you know, how to put your left foot in front of the right. So this is why I think when you're challenged with those priorities, for me, what 2014, I had so much I wanted to achieve, much like all of us do. But I know for me personally, I needed to get my finances sorted because I was broke as a bloody, I don't even know, but I was broke. And my mental and emotional health, because I was sabotaging relationships, friendships, and myself in the process. So I thought if I can really knuckle down and make some money, like just so I don't have financial stress, and if I can stop being such a prick to everyone, maybe then I'll have more time and space to work on, get my health back, be a better mate, be a better partner, run a business, all of those sorts of things. So that's what it was for me. And I think the important thing is working out what that looks like for you guys in the grand scheme of thing, and understanding that it's going to be okay in the short term to make sacrifices and maybe slip up, but understand that, you know, in the long term, you've got a goal that you're working towards, and what are you prepared to sacrifice for that? Then when we go into the priorities of that, for me, once again, I'll use my example. Like I was literally in this is exactly where it all happened. I'll show you this. This is the real workbench from back in the day. So this is my Mrs. Studio, right? And this would be where I was like fucking Dobby, Harry Potter in the closet. This is where I'd work. And yeah, there's a little sewing machine on there now. But that's where I'd work from 5 a.m. till fucking 9 to 11 roughly. I obviously made my relationship very uncomfortable. I didn't see mates. I didn't drink piss. I didn't watch footy. I didn't do so many things for literally 4 years. And there were things that I thought were priorities, like, you know, training. Even I stopped training for a while, and I stopped doing all these things because for me, that one thing that I felt I really needed was that. And it came with a lot of shit, obviously, but that was what I was, you know, continued to focus on until I achieved what I was trying to achieve there. So Tommy, in order to, I guess, open the discussion around that, what are the things challenging you with the, oh, sorry, I didn't get the last 2 points. I'm all over the shot. Don't listen to me. The second one there, gents, obviously after seeking clarity, and as we've mentioned, I'll put a few dot points there, but if you read the book, you'll get a whole heap more than the dot points that I'll talk about, is to generate the energy. It's very easy. Once again, I'll use Dave as an example. You know, you can come home from a really long, stressful day and feel stressed and pissed off and everything like that, and you've got a newborn. Like, you've got to create that energy and enthusiasm to show up with intention. You can't just go, fuck, it's been a long day, I'm just going to drag my knuckles through the house. Like, it's what can I do and be intentional before I go into the house? What can I do to change and bring energy to be the father or be the dad that I want to be? Right? It goes across every other thing. Like, Jeremy and I look like two people who had no sleep this morning, but the intention of going in there was to set yourself up for success for the day. Go through some breath work, etc., and some recovery. So we changed our energy by doing that, jumping in the cold pool, etc. So how are you generating energy? And a really important thing to think about that is what you're fueling your body with, like food wise, sleep, obviously, and then exercise. Like, realistically, if I had my time again, I'd never sacrifice my exercise. Need to be a pillar. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
And then obviously the final one is raising necessity. Why is it important for those standards to be there? Why is it important for you to choose to make a nice healthy lunch rather than getting the fast food? Why is it important for you to say, no, I'm going to bed at 9 o'clock instead of 11:30? What does it lead to? Why is it important for you to have the hard conversation right now as opposed to letting it roll on for a few days and then become a big problem? Why is it important for you to invest in learning about whatever it is that you want to learn about? Through creating urgency, like, it makes you hungrier to move. It makes you hungrier to take action. Make sense?
Yeah, 100%.
I completely butchered that, but Brendan Bouchard does it way better, gents. But Tommy, can you give us a bit more perspective around your question? Or did we cover it?
No, certainly covered it. I think probably from more speaking from personal experience is I seem to lose focus too easily, and then when I've got competing priorities,
What would you say are competing priorities?
Family life and work life.
Yeah.
Is knowing when to be present.
Well, be present wherever you are is the easy answer, really, but it's obviously the discipline to do that. But, you know, how I would look at it, and obviously for those who run businesses and for those who work, obviously work stress comes with you, and, you know, these fucking things bring emails and text messages and all kinds of stuff with you. So you really need to start trying some things to implement, right? Like, if you have do not disturb, like for those who try to call me, it always goes to message bank unless you call twice, because I have do not disturb on all the time. I don't respond to messages. Like yesterday, one of my clients was like, why do you have so many fucking messages? I was like, I'm not going to touch my messages till I'm sitting down in my office and I'm ready to deal with messages, because otherwise I'll open one and won't respond or whatever. So when you're thinking about work-life balance, what is your work-life balance? It doesn't really exist, because it's the whole part of you. But you might have scheduled time where you're at work, and you have scheduled time where you're at home. So if you have scheduled time where you're at home and you're not getting your work stuff done, then you need to look at work and go, okay, well, where am I wasting time? Am I procrastinating and putting things off? Do I need to learn to be more efficient? Do I need to outsource things? What am I doing? Because if you can't get your job done in allocated hours, gents, we need to, like, as employees, I know you get a heap of shit put on you, right? So it's then looking about, do you need to have conversations with your employers? Do you need to work out where you can be more efficient? Like, you need to start asking these questions and taking ownership for the situation. Yeah, there'll be some rough conversations that have to happen. Much like those who run a business, you're on call 24/7. You think you're creating freedom, but you're in a hellhole, right? But it's then going, okay, well, I am giving myself the discipline. I'm not checking my phone till such and such time. When I'm home, before I walk in the door, I know that quite regularly I carry work stress with me. So what can I do to switch off? I know Jez goes and has a steam and a sauna after work most days, which is a great way to sort of change state. So then when you're going home, you're not thinking about work. You're excited to be with your partner or whatever else you're going to do while you're at home. But we need to start, and this is an open discussion for everyone, because once again, how I do things may not work for everyone, but we'll put it in the group thread maybe and have a discussion, start thinking about things that work for you guys to switch off and change, because of course they're priorities, but they're still one and the same in terms of who you are as an individual, because you have to work to pay bills, but you also want to be a great family man. And maybe to be fair, in the short term, that means you have to sacrifice a bit of family time so you can get work sorted to be more efficient. Maybe you need to get more systems and processes and stay up late to get that done. That may be what it means, but I think, does that make sense, Tommy?
Yeah.
What do you, Phil, how do you deal with work being home?
Like working from home. So I find myself, I am in a new job, and it's kind of, and we are hiring more of me, but at the moment it's just me. But like, I've probably been at work from home for 10 or 11 years, and I find like it's constant. Like I've only just found Do Not Disturb, and it goes on at 6 o'clock at night, and I've just rejoined the gym, and I make sure I go every night just to break work and home apart. That's how you started this work. But I do find, like, I'm at home, my office is 10 meters from my lounge room, and I end up doing work.
Yeah. So there's a few things you can try. See, Joey. Like, is yours an actual office, or is it just your laptop and stuff set up at home?
It's a laptop. Oh no, it is an office kind of. It's my girlfriend's bed room where she keeps all her clothes, but it is an office. Like, it's separate to the rest of the house.
Yeah. So what I would do would be a set up and a pack down every day. So if it's not an actual office, like if you're working from a bench or whatever, set your stuff up as if you would go into the office, and then pack your stuff up and literally put it away. Like, put your laptop back in its case, put it in your fucking car or wherever you normally would leave it. So then, because as soon as you leave your laptop on the table and you walk past it, you're going to go, like, they're designed to grab your focus. So that's what I used to do. Now, if you have a home office, like, just close the door. That works a treat for me.
I think packing up.
I do exactly that, Lockie.
Yeah. And I'm being mindful of time. We'll let you guys go in a sec. Just, there was one last question from someone who texted me. How does one find about a business mentor? There's so many. Obviously, Google's a great place, but from my experience, like, I spent a fuckload. So actually, to do something like this, what we do in the Strong Men of Value, I paid my last coach $30,000, and it was an all right experience. It wasn't the best experience, but obviously departing with $30,000 was a bit of a kick in the dick. So for me, a few things that I think about and just trying to find any mentor or business is, like, one, I want to understand where they've come from, because there's a lot of mentors out there who haven't done what they said they do. Like, they are business coaches, but they've never run a business. I don't want to be mentored by them. No fucking chance. I want to understand what their life's like holistically. And this is, once again, you might have to do this, but I think about, if I'm getting coached by someone who's, got a extremely shit family life and just is a right twat and just not healthy, that's not going to vibe with me, because there are things that are really, really important to me. So I want them to be able to empathize with my situation that's going on, because it's very hard for some people. And I could be wrong. This is just from my experience. With my last coach, especially, because he expected me to work so much and not take into account my misses. So I want to look at like what's going on in their whole life and the actual standards that they have across the board. Do they look after themselves? Do they invest in themselves? Have they done what they're trying to talk about? It's the reason why I don't do fucking, you don't see me on Love Island trying to teach people how have wicked relationships. I can give you like the mindset stuff, but I'm not here to fucking be I don't even know who a relationship coach is, but something like that. Then I look at like what I'm looking for at this point in time. Like for me, with that last program, like I was looking for a network. I wanted to be around people who were successful in the same field as me. So I was sort of, while I was paying a lot of money to be coached, I was also paying a lot of money for the network, which was, beneficial. So I look at that. But then I think at this point in what I'm looking for, am I looking for one-on-one, or am I looking for a group sort of environment? Which do you thrive better in? Is it group or is it one-on-one? And if you don't know, then start with group, and then if you need one-on-one, go one-on-one. Right? What else would I say? And then obviously cost. I think the other thing is, for me, you don't want to spend so much money, because a lot of coaches as well, I've had this happen to me, will say, look, put it on credit or do this and do that and we'll earn it back. And this is from a business point, but life's probably the same. But you don't want to be so highly leveraged that stress of knowing you got to pay back a fucking certain thing is taking you away from actually learning what you need to learn. And I understand everyone's risk tolerance is fine with that, but for me, I've been in a situation where I had no money and I paid $3,000 for a coach and got fully gypped, and that stressed me out. So now that they're probably things that I'd consider with that, Jez. Sweet, gents. It's someone my computer is going off like a frog in a sock here with notifications, and I don't even have them on. What is that?
I think
anyway. I was like, I don't even have them on, but it just keeps on ticking. Thanks for jumping on, gents. Remember, I highly fucking recommend reading that book. If you have any questions, or if you're not in your accountability groups, I have just added people into their groups for those who are. So I put Bretto and Gareth in there, but if anyone else isn't. But gents, we've got the 3-day masterclass starting Monday night for those who are jumping in, and then we've got a huddle in Brisbane if we don't go into lockdown next Gold Coast next Saturday. So we'll see how that goes. But other than that,
whereabouts on the Goldie is it?
Southport, I'd say, near that big beautiful water slide. Oh, that that bouncy park.
Yep.
And Melbourne and Sydney, when all stuff opens up, which
who knows?
Yeah,
How long's a piece of string?
Yeah, it's frustrating. I can't imagine what it's like for you, gents, but yeah, I hate talking about COVID, so we won't go there. Anyway, gentlemen, have a great bloody week. Remember, on Monday, start getting in the habit of, when you write down and set your week up for intention, take a photo of it and post it in the group. Hold yourself accountable, but you're also holding your crew accountable as well. Have a great week. See you, boys.
See ya.